The process is the recording process is extremely laborious, particularly for Chris. Having to hit the drums, different velocity layers. We did sometimes up to about 100 different velocity layers on snares and things like that. And so for him, it is just so difficult to have to go from the lightest hit to the hardest hit. For us, we could kind of sit back a little bit and do that. And Matthias would also be listening out and telling us exactly what was required for each thing, and so we'd sometimes have to do them again, or sometimes there'd be a noise and we'd have to redo it or whatever. But certainly the recording process was fairly easy for us, but very, very tough for Chris.
It is quite painful and boring for the drummer, because normally we're in the studio, we set up our drums, tune them up, we play a song, and then we pack up and go home. But for a Toontrack library, you just spend hours every day in the studio going like this and holding your breath and trying not to cough or squeak the bass drum pedal. So we do a whole bunch of samples with the sticks, and then we do another whole bunch of samples with another tool, which in this case is like a hot rod. They're called hot rods. This one is called a root, but they're called hot rods in the custom and vintage library, and that's a slightly different sound, which is like, again, you can do center hits and rim shots, and the center hits sound like this. And the rim shots sound like this. So it's still quite an attacky sound, but it's a bit softer. And then on some of the drums we've done brushes. Well, I'm not really a brush expert, and it's quite a different technique to sticks, but well, you've got the sweeps, which is that sound, and then you've got soft center hits and medium center hits. And then you could do rim shots. You wouldn't really do rim shots too much with brushes, but you can do rim shots again. And then when you've done a bunch of hits with all the tools on the snare drum, you go around and do all those again on the toms, and yes, days later you've got your drum library.
A couple of weeks ago I called Peter and asked him to come here to do these presets, and the perfect way of doing that is to have some mixes ready for him, the stems of productions that we have in our studio. And so that's the way we do it. He has a song with stems, and then he can make presets out of that with the drums to mix it in Superior. And it works very well for the end user then to get it, because it's going to actually fit in a production. That's the whole point.
I've used the custom and vintage sounds on a lot of different projects, and sometimes I've even just used the ambience. I've added the ambience that's recorded at 2 kHz and then added that to certain drums that I may have recorded in different studios. Sometimes that's a good trick. And actually one thing that we've done with some of the presets here is we've taken the ambience from Avatar and added it just solely to the custom and vintage sounds, and that really works well because you've got the close sort of mic'd sounds of custom and vintage, and then you've got a room that's much, much bigger than the custom and vintage room added to it, and that really works well.